Will the institution of marriage be dead by 2040? Now, you may ask, how did you even come to such a topic? Now, there's some very interesting pieces of research that have come in this area. Now, Morgan Stanley has researched and said that by 2030, nearly 45% of women in the marriageable age will not be married or will not have children. That is nearly 45%, one in two people. And this is not just about the Western markets. This is a trend that is visible across the world. So think of your circles around and you'll see so many women and men in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s who are not getting married. So why do people not want to get married? Basic question. The first thing is because a lot of people in this generation who are marriageable think that marriage is not that important in the first place. So a 2023 YouGov poll in urban India saw that 40% of the respondents, or 40% of people in the marriageable age of say 25 to 45, don't think marriage is that important or top priority. So what is priority? The career is priority, or making money and having a solid bank balance is priority. So marriage comes much lower in the hierarchy of things that people want. Number two, now when you look at popular culture, where these belief systems come from, Bollywood has a big role to play in it. And if you look at the last few years, a lot of celebrities have also been saying that marriage does not matter. Recently, Kajol said in an interview that marriage should be like a contract. You should finish in a couple of years, then again renew it. Fatima Sheikh has said something similar in the past, that marriage is not the be all and end all. You should be fine living alone. Even if you look at the latest OTT shows, which is Made in Heaven, etc., they all look at marriage from a very different lens, and they say it's perfectly all right not to get married. Now, it's also important to look at this journey from a evolutionary perspective. Now, if you look at evolution, and this is survived for 2,500 years, a man had a certain role and a woman had a certain role. It's not right or wrong. This is a certain role they had. So what was the man's role? The man's role was he would go out, he would earn, he would bring food, he would protect the family. What was the woman's role? She was the nurturer. She would stay at home, take care of the children, provide a nice and peaceful home. Now, this is something that ran for a lot of centuries and a lot of decades. Now, what's happened in the last 20, 30 years is, and it's a good thing, that women are now getting educated, they're going to work, so they're actually disrupting these gender norms. A lot of women are saying that, why should I also work outside and also take care of the household? I have a career as important as yours, and hence the household work and everything should be half and half. That is what a lot of women are saying, and that is where some of this friction in gender roles are coming in. Many women are also asking this question: what value does a man actually add? I will only marry a man if the man actually values or adds value to my life. Now, there's also more interesting research, and you would have seen this on Instagram, that a New York Post article has said that women are keeping insane standards for someone to date or marry, and they're calling it the bare minimum. Now, you may have seen on Instagram that there are young women, and people go to young women and say, how much should your future partner earn? And they throw such ridiculous numbers, 1 crore a month, 100 crores a month, 10,000 crores a year, and they're calling it the bare minimum. So what is happening across the world, and social media has a role, is 100% or 99% of the women are actually going for 1% of the men, and they're actually thinking that that is the bare minimum. Now, by design, women typically marry or date people who earn similar or higher than them, and because they're looking at only the top 0.1 or top 1%, people with a certain height, a certain qualification, a certain income, that everyone else they are not ready to settle with. Everyone wants that top 1%. And as a result, the mindset is that is the bare minimum that we want. Now, when you do a topic like this, you have to have a look at social media. Now, what social media has done is created this extreme view of what men are and what women are. This topic that we call gender wars has actually been propensified because of social media. Now, if you're someone who's a marriageable man, typically you will get a reel like this, that it is very difficult to get married as a man. Why? Think of the Atul Subhash case. Your life is in danger. There is a blue drum situation. There is a fake dowry case. Alimony is a business model. You will lose everything. plus your future wife, you don't know about her body count, you have to accept her the way it is, and it is such a bad journey. This is what you will get if you're a man. Now, there are also people like Andrew Tate and many other male personalities who spread some of these narratives and have millions of followers across the world. Now, if you're a young woman, a marriageable woman, you will get a slightly different view. You will get a view in terms of men only want one thing from a woman. Men do not add value to your lives. Men are patriarchy. They do not do work at home. They don't take your career seriously. Your in-laws will treat you badly. You will have an unsafe environment and all the pressures that you're going through at work without any support. Men are not emotionally available. They don't put in the bare minimum. And this is the narrative you will go through as a woman. Now, what happens is because of this extreme narrative, this gender war is actually increasing and more distance is coming between men and women. The question is, where is the truth? And like most things in life, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. So if we look at dowry laws and how dowry laws have been misused, there are many reports that say about 70% of dowry cases against the man are fake. You've all been seeing the news about how alimony is getting misused. And even with the biggest of cricketers, whether you think of Mohammad Shami, Shikhar Dhawan, Yuzvendra Chahal, there is a certain degree of misuse that has happened with alimony. Not to say there are no problems on the women's side. Even today, women don't get treated on par with men. If you look at Pew Research and said that even in the Western world, for the same piece of work a man and a woman does, women get about 15 to 20% lesser. Not to mention, there are, of course, issues of security with a woman who's going to work and managing home. Think of places like Delhi, etc. It is very difficult to be a woman. And a lot of India is still patriarchal. They will expect the woman to sacrifice her career. They will expect the woman to take care of the household and prioritize the family over everything else. Now, the most important question: what will AI do in this scenario? AI does so many things. Everybody talks about AI taking away our jobs, but can AI take away your husband or your wife? And the answer is it actually might. So let's look at the role of a marriage. What are the two key benefits you get from marriage? One is companionship, and two is physical intimacy. Typically the two benefits of marriage. Now let's look at companionship. Now AI can actually become a better romantic companion. So across the world, if you see, about 25% of Gen Z are actually having romantic relationships with their AI apps. A Harvard Business Review recently came up with a study that said, what are people using generative AI for? 45% of the number one use case which 45% people are using for is companionship. So AI can actually replace your partner in companionship. You may say all this sounds very fancy, but is it really becoming mass scale? So there is an app in China which is called Maoxiang, which typically has 2 million active users. Now in China, there is another interesting phenomenon that has come, is where a lot of urban Chinese women, well-educated, well-to-do women, are saying, we don't want to marry only. We don't want to marry. 3 or 4 friends of us will come together. We will hire a villa or a flat and we will stay happily with each other. We do not want any man in our life. So that's the first thing in terms of companionship. Next thing is intimacy. Can AI actually give you intimacy? Now, interestingly, there are now humanoid robots that have come in. And many future experts are saying, Dr. Ian Gold is one of them, that in the next 15 to 20 years, that robot will be capable of physical intimacy, and the intimacy it will provide will be better than what humans can provide. So in 15 to 20 years, you may be asking yourself, what is the point of a human partner? The AI partner is giving me companionship, an AI partner is giving me intimacy. You may ask, what about children? Anyway, fertility is going down. A lot of couples don't look at children. So, and who knows, maybe AI will produce children also in the future. Now, one likely scenario which a lot of people believe is every person will have 2 spouses. Man or woman will have 2 spouses, one AI spouse and one human spouse. And that is how AI will disrupt this space. If we have to understand what is likely to happen in India, it is important to see what has happened in other markets like US, China, etc. Now, if you look at the US census data, nearly 16% of their population is married as of a couple of years ago. But interestingly, 50% of them end in divorce. Only 16% of the population is married, and 50% of them end in divorce. If we look at China, which is say a lot closer to India in terms of a culture than the US, 40% has been a decline in their marriages from 2013 to 2020. So marriages are crashing in China, marriages are crashing in the US, which means it is likely to come to India very, very soon. Now, some of you may think, oh, this is typical Gen Z behavior. Gen Z wants nanoshape, Gen Z wants multiple partners, Gen Z has situationships and all those fancy terms. That's actually not true. There's a lot of research saying Gen Z does not want hookup culture. A lot of research says Gen Z wants stable romantic relationships, but they are not actually getting it. So the final question I'm going to come to is, what does it mean for the institution of marriage? Here are some trends likely to happen in India. Will the institution collapse? Will it become zero? Maybe not, but definitely the numbers will start keeping coming. One thing that is going to happen is the increase in live-in. The number of people living in before marriage is going to shoot up. There was a research by Lionsgate Play that said nearly 1 in 2 young Indians actually want to live in before they actually get married. That's number one. Number two, what is likely to happen is the joint family may come back in some way, but in a slightly different way, not the way we think about. So the first few years of the marriage, the parents will stay away from the couple saying that we don't want to interfere. But after that, the parents will start staying closer to the couple, maybe in the same colony, the same residential area. So there's the benefit of community, but there is also a difference in lifestyle. And number three, what is likely to happen is a fertility crash, which is already happening across the world. So irrespective of whether marriage happens or does not happen, there is likely to be a fertility crash. Now, whether marriage will go away by 2030 or 2040, we may not know. But one thing is definitely assured, that marriage is no longer a priority. And more over a period of time, marriage will be an exception rather than the norm. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comment section and forward this video to that one friend of yours who's thinking of getting married.